So I'm headed down to Jan's house. Jan is a friend, neighbor, and a client of mine. Diane picked up a bunch of gravel in my big work truck this morning, and it's full of gravel waiting for me to unload, so I'm driving the Toyota to get there. It's just down the street from our place. Must be about 6 years ago I replaced the countertops in her kitchen. She had the standard 6-inch white tiles with kind of a wide grout joint, and we replaced it with the quartz countertops. We got them from Home Depot. Home Depot always does a good job for me. The house is empty because she recently sold the house. It has most of her stuff out, so you have to excuse the mess that's left here in the kitchen. You can see the pebble backsplash and the quartz countertops. And we've replaced both the sink and the faucet, and replaced it with this Moen faucet. And I've always been happy with Moen products. I don't hold this against them at all. But you can see it's a pull-out sprayer, and when it goes back in, it looks like it's going in well, but what happens is it really just flops a bit. It doesn't sit in there tight. Originally, I messed around with the weight on the bottom of the sprayer hose underneath the sink and fooled around with it some, and I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't work until I looked a little closer on the inside there. And if you look real close in there, you can see these little ridges here. There's little ridges there, and they're kind of worn on that one. So I called up Moen, and what they did was they sent me out a replacement piece. And I can get that to hold steady there. You can see, when you look in there real close, how the grooves are nice and high all the way to the edge here, but these are worn. There's right on the edges, those are worn a bit. And that's why that piece is floppy in there, because this little black end here should fit snugly in there, and it just doesn't. It's floppy. So I'm here to replace this with this, and that should handle it. Now, as with any plumbing repair, the first thing you want to do before you even get started is to shut off the water. Now, in some cases like this, I'm able to shut off the water right here at the device. If you have a bigger repair, you might have to shut it off where the water main comes into the house, and at times you might even have to go all the way to the street and turn it off at the meter. But in this case, I'll be able to do it here underneath the sink. So under the sink, we have what are called angle stops. And angle stops, little faucets underneath the sink, and you can turn those off, turn down tight, and that one as well. Now sometimes in older houses, the angle stops don't close completely. You turn them down tight, and just from being in the water for so many years, the valve does not seat very well. So what I always do is I always come in here, and you want to turn the faucet on, both hot and the cold side, just to verify that they really are off completely. Now, if there is a little drip there, you're going to have to go outside, like I said before, to the water main on the side of the house, or maybe even all the way out to the street. So now the next step is to disconnect that hose from where it hooks up to the faucet underneath the sink. In order to do that, I'm going to have to crawl underneath the sink. Now, typically, these hoses are not screwed on with any kind of a fitting you'd put a wrench on. There's usually some kind of little clip. Sometimes you have to something you have to squeeze or push or pull, something like that, and it slips right off of there. So I'm never sure what I'm going to expect. So let's see what we got here. See if we can look way up inside there. So it looks to me like what I need to do is squeeze that and push it. Now this should just slip right off. There we go, slip right off of there. So here's what the end of the hose looks like. It has an O-ring around here, and that's what provides a seal. And that little clip slides right on this little notch here. That's what holds it in place. So in this case, it has a sliding weight that's on the hose. I've never been that pleased with those. They don't seem to work as well. But in this case, it makes my job a little easier. So I can just slide it right off of there. Now, with the fitting disconnected and the weight removed, we should be able to pull it right out. Now sometimes it will hang up in there a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll move on to the next step. On the back here is a little hole, and you take an Allen wrench the right size. If you buy a new faucet, it usually comes with the Allen wrench, but I always carry a good selection with me. And this should be the right size to make it work. Just give that a couple turns, the handle comes off, and this top cover comes off. Sometimes they unscrew. In this case, it just kind of snaps in place over that. So what we'll do, we'll just carefully raise that piece off. Now we got the hose out. Be careful not to drop anything into the garbage disposal. So now it's a matter of putting the new piece on there. Let's see if the hose will slide in. Same problem, a little difficult. So what I'll do is raise that up a bit, slide the hose in, and then this piece goes on next. It snaps, slides over the top here. It's got a little O-ring there. Snaps down inside there. And it's kind of a dual purpose thing. It acts to hold this piece in place so it doesn't flop and wobble around. Then the trim piece, in this case, snaps on there. Some faucet, the trim piece is going to unscrew. Sometimes it just snaps on like that. We put the handle back on. Now before you put the handle on, remember the orientation when you took it off. There's a little flat spot here on the side of that, the steel piece sticking up. So then you want that little set screw in there to ride right against that flat spot. You tighten it down. Extra snug there. I slide this back in. It fits right in there without flopping. Now it's got a nice snug fit in there. So in this case, since the weight clips on rather than sliding over the end of the hose, I can connect the hose back to the underside of the faucet and clip the weight on afterward. That way I can get it in exactly the right place. Here we are underneath the sink again. Now before you hook up the hose, make sure it's not wrapped around any of their plumbing drain pipes or the cord to the garbage disposal or anything like that. And you want to make sure that it's free to pull out its full extension without hanging up on anything on the way up. Now, it should be a simple matter of just pushing it back into the fitting until the O-ring seats and pushing that clip in there. It comes with a nice satisfying click. So what I'm going to want to do here is open up this clip, and depending on the faucet you get, you might find some that clip like this. They're really simple to install. Some that have a couple screws that make it a little more difficult. You may end up with another one of those that slides up and down on the hose, and that's fine, but I do prefer this. Now what you want to do is clip it just a little ways off the bottom of the cabinet, and you want to clip it on the side that connects to the sprayer, not the side that comes from the bottom of the sink. There we go. That looks good. Okay, it's time to turn the angle stops on. What I like to do is turn them on a little slowly until you hear the water go in, and then open them up completely. Now be sure, I didn't mention it before, but be sure you turn off both the hot and the cold side. Get this one on again. And this is where you want to be careful, check for leaks too. You want to check everything for leaks, but in particular, what I like to start with is a little shaft here that goes into the valve. A lot of times, if you have an older house again, they might not have been turned off for quite a while. And when you run it in and out like that, you'll get a little bit of a leak right there. But everything else should be fine because we didn't really disconnect anything from here. That's the one place you got to watch out for. I guess I got the clip in there right up top because it didn't pop up and flood the cabinet. You can see that connection right up. See if I can find it here, right up in here. Where is that? There we go, right there. So that looks good too. We don't have any water leaking down, and that's really our ultimate goal when we're doing this. All right, now let's see how we did. Cold water comes on just fine. Hot water comes on fine. Turn it off, it doesn't leak. Hit the button for spray. Back to stream again. The faucet pulls out nicely. Slides back in. The weight holds it snug in here. Now it's going to be a little loose. It's not going to be any kind of a precision fit there. But this is really good. It's not flopping like it was. And I think we've accomplished what we needed to here. Jan should be plenty happy with that. And I guess equally important is her buyer will be happy with that. Now I gotta say, Moen has been fantastic about this. When I called up, I didn't have a model number. She had me text her a picture of the faucet. And from that she was able to come up with a model number. We got the color right. The warranty states that it's for the original purchaser. I didn't have a receipt. She just had to take my word for it. They didn't worry about any of that at all. They just shot me the part right out. Got here in just over a week, and I was able to put it in. And now, I guess it's time to unload that gravel.